Hello again. We got the F430 back here in the garage. Today we are going to change some spark plugs. Got these NGKs right here and got them from AW Italian. That is their part number. 8 of them, of course. And if you guys do buy anything from these guys, make sure you use discount code DIY10 and you're gonna get 10% off of your purchase. And just a reminder, as with almost every video on my channel, this is the first time I am ever doing it. So if I can figure out and do it using the service manual and some internet research, you should be able to do it yourself as well, following along this video by the time I get done. First step, stand in awe and admire this beautiful spider. Okay, that's enough admiring. Now we gotta open up and get to our spark plug. So, seems like it's gonna be an easy job because you can see them right there, right? Well, no, it's not gonna be that easy. So we're gonna have to do a few things. First, we're gonna have to remove these side panels on both sides so that we can gain access. This one, if you are not aware, has your emergency gas cap release pulley guy here. So instead of disconnecting that, we don't really need to. The only reason to remove this panel is to gain access to this panel. So we'll just leave this to the side, but let's start removing some stuff. All right, here's the actual workshop manual procedure. It is pretty sparse. I'm gonna step you through everything. One thing that nobody in these videos talks about though, is at the very end, it says important. Once the spark plugs have been replaced, the self-learned parameters must be deleted from the ECU memory. Some people say you have to use a tool like the launch to do it. Others say you just disconnect power. So we are going to disconnect the power for the car at the very beginning of this procedure because you're supposed to do it for at least 30 minutes. So when we come back from working, we will be able to turn it back on and it will do the reset for you. So this is the complete set of instructions I found online. Now again, until I see something official from Ferrari, I take everything with a grain of salt. If you guys have anything that you know as fact, please put it in the comments below. You are gonna need a 4mm little hex guy to get these bolts out. I won't show all of them, but just go ahead and start removing these things. Don't drop them and lose them. They should each have a big old washer like this on them, so just keep track of them. Oh yeah, I almost forgot, the 2 on the bottom are actually 3mm hex. So as you can see, this is a super tight fit to get out of there. There might be a way to lift that back thing up a little bit while you're doing this and slide it out. I'm not sure exactly, but we got it out. All right, so for those of you following along at home and remember me missing this piece from under there, found it sitting right down here. Looks like we're missing a bolt here to hold this thing on. So we'll clean some stuff up and do some stuff while we're down here. But I think the next step is we're just gonna remove this little heat shield to give us a little bit more access. It looks like there are 2 bolts. Looks like there should be 3. So we're gonna pop that off. All right, these are big crusty bolts that for me are really on here well, nice and corroded. So you want to make sure you don't use any power tools. Get them snapped off. Well, not in the middle. Maybe that's normal. So these ones are pretty long as well. They have the blue thread lock on them, and I'm gonna have a silver washer. All right, let me get this off. And That washer is stuck on here, but I don't want to drop it in there. Come on. Got the washer off. You yucky. All right, with those things removed, I'm going to shake it around. It's kind of stuck on there. And just drop it down and bring it out forward like this. Yeah, that is what it looks like. So, I don't know, this hole in the middle is bigger, so maybe a bolt doesn't normally go in there. I don't know, tell me how it looks on yours. Looks like there is a hole in this bar that's threaded for a bolt. All right, with that removed, we have a lot more access around there to reach around and get some of this stuff off that we're gonna need to do. So we're gonna start with the easy one first, I guess, and just remove this coil pack. So if I look down here, you can see the coil pack. There's one bolt on the top and then one on the bottom opposite corner, and those are just 5mm hex. So we're just going to use an assortment of Allen keys, X sockets, these guys with different extensions just to get around this bar essentially, and remove them. Not too difficult, just take a little patience and figure out what extensions and sockets you need to get down there. All right, got the bottom one out. They look like this. They do have a little washer, so be careful when you take them out to make sure you don't drop the washer down there. All right, you're gonna find the top one. So just use the small ratchet. Get this one. Get it off carefully by hand. All right, so the top one came out like this with this piece on it. All right, so it should be disconnected now. And I can just reach under this other bar. I don't even need to disconnect the cable. I can just pop it out now. You can see I'm reaching under here. Just fish it right out under there. And I didn't mention before, I'm not planning on replacing the actual coil packs because if they either work or they don't work, and they're all currently working right now. So just the spark plugs. Now I have access here with my phone, at least to see down there. Can't really see down with my eyes because this bar is in the way. So we got a little light here, so now we can see our spark plug in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove that one, and you can see all you do is continue down the row and knock out 3 more after this. All right, I got a standard 5/8 inch spark plug removal socket tool thing. This is what I've used on all my cars. Hopefully it'll work on this one. It's got a nice little swivel joint here. It's magnetic, so when you are reaching into the car to grab the spark plug like this, it's magnetic, so it holds it and pulls it out, and also for putting it back in. So we'll see if this fits under that rail. Oh yeah. All right, perfect, plenty of clearance. All right, let me stick my ratchet down here on it now. Press it down on the spark plug. Oh, yeah, this guy's on there hard. Just gonna try to get to this with an extension so I can get a little more leverage on it. There we go. Thread it the rest of the way by hand. And then once I feel it's loose, I can just pull it out here. And the magneto part will hold it. So this is what we are looking at. Yep, that is pretty used. Good time to replace them. All right, a little side-by-side comparison of new versus used. So yeah, you can see, time to go. And side note, you probably can't really tell from the video, but these are the smallest spark plugs I have ever seen. They are like little baby spark plugs. All right, so after taking these out, a lot of people will like spray some air or something into there just to clear out any debris that may have fallen in there. So yep, feel free to do that if you want. I'm gonna go ahead and replace these one at a time instead of removing all the coil packs first, just because I want to prevent issues like that with crap falling in while I'm removing the other ones. So time to put this new one in. These things should come pre-gapped, but as you see in the manual, it should be 0.6 to 0.7 millimeters. All right, a couple things we're gonna do here. I'm just gonna put a tiny bit of anti-seize down here on the threads per the manual. And then I take a little bit of this dielectric grease here, and you do not put it here on the metal part because this is intended to conduct electricity from your coil pack that comes in and makes your spark. If you put it on here, this stuff will prevent electricity from going through smoothly. It is meant to go here on the, what do you call this thing? The porcelain part of the spark plug, because when the boot of your coil pack comes over and covers this up, it helps form a waterproof seal so that water does not get into here. So that's the whole purpose of dielectric grease on a spark plug. Now I will carefully load spark plug back into my little tool here. Oops, sorry. And it, of course, again, is magnetic. So I'm going to put this back in, make sure it is seated and it turns very easily like this so that we don't cross thread it. And these get torqued down to 10 Newton meters. Fit all the way in. Turn it by hand. It should turn very, very easily. All right, once I can't turn it by hand anymore, get the torque wrench. All right, we got 10 Newton meters. We got our extension again. All right, 10 Newton meters is not very much. All right, do that 7 more times. All right, now I'm just going to put that coil pack back in place. Blow it out. Clean it up by hand a little bit. Press it down in place, right back where it was. Take our original hardware with washers. Just rotate it until the bolt is lined up with the hole. And I'm just starting to hand thread it. And I'm gonna put the top one back in. So it goes in facing this direction like that. All right, now torque those screws that hold the coil pack on. They are also 10 Newton meters. All right, in typical I hate other people working on my cars fashion, this is why this coil pack only had a bolt in the top. It did not even have a bolt in the bottom one here. Completely missing, but all of these have been pretty easy to reach. All right, all 4 were done. I just used progressively shorter extensions and everything was really easy to get. I got every single one of the bolts for the coil packs off just with this 1/4 inch ratchet. All right, we got the first one out over here on this bank. The only difference is the coil packs are rotated slightly. So the first bolt towards the rear of the engine that's slightly lower is the one that has that little plastic piece on it. And then the one towards the front of the car it's a little bit higher is just the single bolt by itself. All right, so this guy is actually, the first one here is the hardest one so far for me just to get to and reach. It's not super difficult, it's just really hard to, you're going in blind, you can't really see it because of the way the poles are, but you can see the little piece on the bottom is what I was trying to tell you. Actually, my phone is crooked, so it's gonna look like this when you're looking at it. So that piece on the bottom has the little plastic tab, and this one, you can see I started putting it in not straight. So I gotta back that one out and slide the little plastic tab over so it looks like this one. Wait, what did you say? You're curious as to what's down in those bores? Well, let's just take a bore scope and find out. Ah, crap, I'm about to run out of power. We're gonna have to go down fast. Let's see. All right, I'm back from the hardware store, picked up a new one of these to replace the missing one. Always leave the car better than when you found it when doing a project. All right, guys, it's actually a couple days later now. I got distracted by life and stuff, so let's go ahead and fire this thing up for the first time since the spark plug changed. First thing I'm gonna do is restore our power. And I don't know if you heard that, but it re-enabled our alarm, so I'm gonna turn that off. That was actually step 4 to disarm the immobilizer. And now we're gonna insert the key and leave it in for 30 seconds. Turn it on and leave it for 30 seconds. Turn it off and leave it for 30 seconds. Turn it on again. Wait for the check, and then we're gonna start the engine. Insert key, turn on our ignition, and we're just gonna let it sit here for 30 seconds. All right, we got it off for 30 seconds. Turn it back on for 30 seconds. And when the check engine goes off, we're gonna try to fire it up. Now. Sounds nice to me.